Continuing on from where we left off in the last lesson, I'm going to create a proxy rig and a proxy scene to help me block out the camera animation. So let me start with a proxy rig. It's going to be a simple, very simplified mannequin with some basic controls. I'm going to start off by laying out some cubes. Let me go shading, X-ray. Some really simple cubes. So that's going to be for the hip. I'm going to duplicate, create another one for the chest. Duplicate that. And create one for the neck. And then duplicate that, create one for the head. It's going to look very much like a 3ds Max cat rig. It's something really simplified. As long as it represents the character's volume to some degree. Okay, and create a very quick one for the ears. Alright, so now I'm going to get the arms. I was considering using Maya's HIK system, but it's too complicated for this. It's a little bit too heavyweight. So I think that what I'm about to do is not that heavy, it's pretty lightweight. Allow me to just have something to move around very quickly and not have a rig feel to it. A heavy rig, it won't have a heavy rig feel to it. Alright, then I just need a palm. I'm not doing fingers. Just basically need to know where the palm is. Should also be fine. Foot might have a little bit more definition. Let's use 2 pieces for the foot, but yeah, I think I'll just extrude this. Let me go to face. Go to the poly modeling menu and have this edge come down. Okay, so that's it. That's the pieces I need. Let me isolate them. See what I have. Okay. So I'm going to just rename them quickly. Upper leg. Upper leg, left, neck, head, ear, L. And I'm just going to grab this, group it, go edit, duplicate special, and edit reset settings, and I want to scale it in the x-axis to get the other side. So since the group is at world, I can go apply and I get the same thing on the other side. Let me group here and do the same thing, apply. And then all I have to do is select these two newly made groups, everything underneath them, and go modify, search and replace, and replace every instance of _L with _R on the selected objects, and apply, and that's it. So we have pieces for the other side, and we do it for the ear too. Group, edit, duplicate special, and just change this to R. Okay, that's our mannequin. Actually, I said 2 pieces for this foot, so I'm going to take that, delete it, Shift P to get this foot out of the group, duplicate it, call this one the toe left, and just delete these faces. Oh, there's another face there. Toe. Delete these 2 faces, and then append to close the hole. Go shading, turn off X-ray, and append faces. Close that hole, and delete history, and then take the foot, isolate it, append faces, delete history, and we should be good. We have a foot and a toe. You can select those 2, group them, go edit, duplicate special to get it to the other side, and just call this side the right. Let me hide the main rig. Don't need it anymore. Wireframe and shape. Okay, so I added some shoulders because I figured I'd need them too. And I'm gonna add a few links for the tail, just so we can get the right, we can position the character correctly in screen space to accommodate the tail. So I'm going to turn on the tail and just add a few cubes. So create polygon cube, and just nice little straight cube. Just represents some of the links of the tail. Base. Don't do too much, just a little. Duplicate. And one more, and that should be it. That should do it. I'm going to do a little bit better approximation. Yep, that's it. So I'm gonna hide this. Okay, next just run a quick joint chain through this. Okay, so to run a joint chain through it, I'm going to start with the torso and the head. I'm going to isolate them, go into the right view, grab the joint tool. I want one for the hip, goes over here. This will be the chest, that's the neck, that's the head, and I want the head end joint. And I'm going to do the same for the legs. I'm going to the right view. I want a quick joint chain for the thigh, knee, foot, ball of the foot, a little bit more in the center, and then there. Perspective. Make sure it's sitting inside the foot. And the other easy one to do is the tail. So I'll grab the tail, isolate it, go to the right view, run a quick jump. I'm looking for shift or X. Okay. And then for the hand and other stuff, it might just be a little bit more complicated. So for the hand, all I'm going to do is use a cluster system. So I'm going to tear off the cluster menu. And what I'm going to do is just select these face here and apply to have a cluster there. Select this face, apply. Select that face, apply. Select the face at the end, apply. And then what I'm going to do is just take all these clusters, isolate them, and snap a joint chain to them with V. So it allows me to get a joint chain free of rotation values. That's what I want. And for the clavicle, I'm going to utilize the first cluster, isolate that with the shoulder, go to the front view, click here for the first shoulder joint, and then V click on the cluster. And that should give us our shoulder system. And I'll do the same thing for the ear. I'll grab this face, create a cluster, create another cluster, grab these two clusters, and snap the joints to them. Okay, so that's our completed joint chain. Now I'm just going to rename the stuff. Tail A, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go J and T, tail A. So tail and E end. Same with here. Go hip. Sorry, J and T, hip, J and T, spine A, J and T head end. This will be ear left, ear and left. Do the same thing for this guy. This is J and T, shoulder left. And J and T hand and left. Let's do the same for the foot. J and T, ball and left. And so that should be all the joints. I don't think there's anything left. This is an extra joint I don't need. Parent the tail. I'm going to parent the leg to the hip. And I'm going to parent this shoulder, this upper arm to the shoulder. and I'm going to parent this shoulder to the chest. Okay. Next order of business is to mirror the chains over for the ones that need it. I also have to parent this ear to the head. Now I'm going to go to the skeleton mirror joint tool, and I'm mirroring in the YZ plane, and I want to take every instance of L left and replace it with R so we can get the other side. So I select this and I go apply, and I get the chain on the other side, and I should do the same for here. Shoulder, apply, and the same for the leg, apply. All right, so now all that's left to do is just to parent these geometries to their respective joints. So I'm gonna select the geometry, select the joint, and hit P, 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 and this is just a simple mannequin system. It should operate like your average toy that you receive on a birthday or Christmas when you were a kid. Parent, parent, parent. Same for the tail. Parent, and it should be fine. I should have now everything moves. Alright, so that's a simple proxy rig. Alright, should be good. One thing I'm gonna do, we're not creating a control system. I just want to be able to find a way to reset myself to this default. So I'm going to do one, and then I'm going to pause the video and do the rest. So all I'm going to do, now that I have the correct naming convention for everything, and everything is parented, is just to select a specific joint, go to the attribute editor and go to presets and say save joint preset, and then save attribute. So what that allows me to do is that if I rotate and move, then I can just go to presets and go to the preset I just saved and go replace, and it snaps it back. So I'm going to pause the video and do that for every single one of these, save a preset and come back so we can start creating the proxy scene. So it's all done. All joints have a preset set for their transforms. It's time to move on to setting up the proxy stage. So as I mentioned in the last lesson, this is the set I will be creating for this production. The stage mat and room appear to be square or rectangular. I, on the other hand, I'm going with a circular room and stage. I feel like it will produce better composition designs for this production. The entire crowd of robot spectators I talked about in the last lesson are going to be created with several tiers of Maya Mash. For now, I'm going to throw in some proxies to block out the crowd. Starting with the crowd on the floor in the foreground, the people in the first two rows are going to be mostly sitting on the floor with one or two people kneeling. The people in the third and fourth rows are going to be mostly kneeling on the floor with one or two people standing. Now when we get to the crowd in the background, standing on a platform, they are going to be about 4 to 5 rows deep. So I'm going to scatter some simple humanoid primitives about to help with the final visualization. In the last lesson, I showed the ceiling mounted light truss I wanted to use. Since I am now resolving to make the room and the floor mat circular, I want to echo that circular motif throughout the composition. So I went looking for a circular light truss. I want something simple that isn't going to overwhelm the composition when the camera is low and looking up. These two Google results are complex examples that I don't want to end up with. This Google search result for a simpler one is more up my alley. So I searched TurboSquid, found a really nice one from 3D Moliere on TurboSquid. It's really nice, but it's a bit too complex. This is a simpler one that works for this project. I like the platform and lights at the center, but they might be doing too much in the background. So if they're a problem, I'll strip them out. For now, I'm just going to block out what I'm seeing. And then when it's time to draft the real stage, I will purchase and rig it for the project. When it comes to the side banners, which I mentioned are going to help with the viewer's orientation of the scene, I'm going to give them different colors to differentiate the screen left ones from the screen right ones. Now in this reference, as I mentioned, the room is square, but since I'm going with a circular room, I may have to make sure the banners wrap around the stage more to echo the circular theme I'm going with. I'll try to keep them straight first as they appear in the reference. It might be nice to have them be the only element in the background that contrasts the circular feel of the set. But if it doesn't look good, I'll go with a circular wrapping of them around the stage. Okay, so to finish this mannequin and clean it up, I'm just going to select the clusters, delete the clusters. We're done with them. And I'm going to create a NURBS curve, scale it up, freeze its transforms, modify, freeze transforms, call it Kiwa mannequin, and just take the entire joint hierarchy and parent it underneath there. And that should be it with the mannequin, functional mannequin. Let's get started building this stage. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a ground plane, scale it up. I just want a nice even underlying floor. Then I'm going to create a cylinder, scale that up too, reduce the height, get our circular stage. I think and I want to mention this is just a proxy, so it's not the real stage. We just need something to start seeing what our camera animation is going to look like. I'm trying to figure out what is a good distance for them to be away from her, and I think this might be it. I might end up changing it. I'm going to create another cylinder, scale it all the way up. Delete the top caps, top and bottom caps, by simply just selecting the side faces and go select inverse. Delete these two. And these will be the walls of the room. I'm going to go into my perspective camera. And increase my far clip plane so I can see my stage at larger distances. So that's main floor, this is the stage, and this is the room. I think that's good. Okay, now I'm going to create my light truss. So I'm going to go create polygon pipe. Scale it up. Go to the channel and use these parameters. Change the thickness, change the height. Make sure I look at it a bit. I think I have something close, but it should be a little higher, about that much, I think. Just be able to duplicate the stage to get that central part of it. Okay, that looks about right. Increase the thickness a bit. Okay, so there's 5 lights mounted. I'm gonna do a quick proxy to simulate these lights so I can see what they'll look like when they're in frame. first let me create the fixtures that hold it in place. I'm going to create a polygon cube, take it up, and scale it up. Hold down the D key and move it down so I can scale this to simulate that fixture, those fixtures. We got to see how they're impacting the composition as they recede into darkness above. One, two, three, four, five, six. There's 6 of them, and there's 2 in the center. So let me scale this one more time. Go to the top view. And I'll place this in the center. And go perspective. And then go edit, duplicate special. And I want 6 copies. And go edit, reset. I want 6 copies. And I have to find a good number of degrees to rotate in the y-axis. I think I'm looking for 30 degrees. Let me apply. Nope, it's not 30 degrees. It's more than that. So I want maybe 60. Yeah, and that does it. Those are fixtures. And I'm gonna grab these guys. Alright, and then you just need 2 in the center. 1, 2. And I think it's high enough. Alright, the next thing to create is those the lights. So I'm going to create a cube, move it up. Just to fake something, to fake it. Create a cylinder, polygon cylinder, move it up. Just scale it up. And just sort of fake these lights. 5 of them. Just to help myself be able to identify them and figure out how to get them in frame every once so often, I'm going to select all these faces and apply a new material, and I'm just going to pick a surface shader, and I'm going to make it white. In this color, I'm going to bring it down a little bit so we have a little bit of contrast. Turn on shadows. And screen space out and occlusion, just to get a little bit of occlusion in the shot. Okay, so I'm just going to parent this light to its sort of platform and then move it up there and try to duplicate it into position. There's one here, might have gone too big with them. So now I'm going to select this, accommodate the ones in the center too. There's 3 in the center that are looking inward. So let me duplicate for them too. So I'm going to duplicate, move this to the center, rotate it. And I'm gonna hold down D and move it to the central part. I'll do the same for this one. Let me go to the top view so I can get a more precise placement of these pivot points. Hold down D and move it, and the other one, and move it to the center so we can do our duplicate special. So there's only 3 in the center, so I'm looking for about 130 degrees of rotation. So 130 degrees, I just need 3, hit apply. Nope. Need 2, not 3. Okay, that should be close to the model. And for this one, there's 5 of them, and that was 60, so I'm going to say maybe 80 degrees and 5 of them. So I hit apply. I'm sorry, I need 4 because you have a total of 5. So 4, yeah, and that should be it. So this is as close as we come to simulating the light truss. Quick proxy. And now it's time to group all these shapes. All right, so everything here is the light truss. Group it, call it light truss proxy. I think the light truss might be a little too high off the ground. So I'm going to grab it, center pivot, and move it down a little bit. Just want to make sure we can at least capture it in frame sometimes. We need to be able to see it, so I might change its size and its positioning over time. As we're picking our staging choices, I'll make the necessary modifications to get it into the composition the way it needs to be. All right, next thing to create is the banners. I'm going to create the banners on the side. There were 8 of them. So I'm going to create a polygon cube. Scale it up. It's really thin. And also in the air. And I think I don't want them to wrap around the stage. I think they'll be fine, just straight. It's a little bit of a contrast from all these circular shapes. So I think it should be fine. I'm going to move it here. Let me have a look at how they just go all the way into the sky and disappear into the darkness. Let me duplicate this, see what unit, how much movement. Actually, before I do that, I'll select that and go modify, freeze transformations. Duplicate it, find a good distance. There's about 115 units. I need 8 of them. And I want 115 units in the Z, so 115. If I hit apply, that's 1, 2, okay, so that's 8 banners on the side. Group it. Sorry, I left one. So I'll have all these. Before I group it, I'm going to move them back to the collective because the crowd has to be here, and those banners are pretty far back. They are also slightly thicker, so I'm going to move them farther back, and I think that's a good distance. All right, so now I'm going to group them, and then I'm going to edit, reset, and so that I can just duplicate it to the other side to get the other ones. And just so I can know the orientation as I'm blocking out this camera animation, I'm going to give it, both of them, different shaders. Screen right one gets red, and the screen left one will get blue. So like that. Pick a blue hue, match it to it, and this will be red. Or orange, something more appealing to look at. Okay. So that's it with the banners. And now all that's left is to get the fake crowd. So for the fake crowd, I'm going to create polygon cube. Scale it up to about her size. They're humanoid, so they should be about her size. Create polygon sphere to get fake heads. Not that much. That's good. And then this, we move that up. So this will be a simulation of a standing crowd member. And then I'll duplicate this, move it to the side, and this will be simulation of one kneeling, and then duplicate this, just delete that, and this will be a simulation of one sitting on the floor with your feet crossed. So I'll duplicate that and just create some fake, something just that looks like feet crossed. That should be good. Stop right there. And just one more. All three actually to create this last one. No, I cannot. And just have someone sitting. Have this, I suppose would be the shins, simulation of the shins, or the legs, just something that looks a little bit humanoid like. Alright, so these are the crowd members. I'm gonna group them. Crowd sitting. Group this. Crowd legs crossed. This is group. Crowd kneeling. With that, this is crowd standing. And the one thing I forgot to do before we start scattering them is to create the platform that everyone in the background is standing on, in the deep background. So I'm going to go create polygon pipe. Scale it up again from here. Go to the pipe, change the height, change the thickness, scale it up some more. So it's looking like that's a little too far off though. We have 4 rows and we have everybody standing here. But it's 4 rows even on the platform, so to be a little farther back. And that might not be high enough. It should be about that high for them to be standing on it. So I should be able to fit 4 rows here and then 4 rows on the platform. But then I have to see how far away they are from the banners. And it looks like the banners might have to move a little bit. I'm going to grab these banners and see how many units I can go. I'm going to make it minus 360 and then do the same for these guys. And this should be also minus 360. All right, so now it's time to scatter this fake crowd. Okay, so I'm going to scatter them in one section and then do a radial duplication like I did for all the elements of the truss. So let me start with this one. Just center pivot for all of them first. Modify center pivot. Hit G to repeat the command. So I come here. Place them on the ground. Some of them are going to be sitting at the edge of the stage. And kneeling, I said the next two rows in the back. That's where we're going to get our first kneelers. And a few people, and people standing too. More people standing than leaning in the second, third, and fourth rows. I'm going to leave it that high. Duplicate this and move it. Have another person standing there. Actually, take the cross leg, duplicate there, and another cross leg sitting in the back here. And then have a few standing. Duplicate here. It doesn't really matter. I just wanted to come as close as possible to what I'm going to receive with MASH. But ultimately, the MASH is going to dictate how randomized these placements are going to be. Okay, make it a fairly dense crowd. And take these three, duplicate them, and just help myself make it a fairly dense crowd. And I'm going to duplicate several of them at a time and get them on top of the platform. As we have to have them on the platform too. Duplicate several at a time and get them back there. Get this guy a little bit more randomization. Okay, everybody on the platform looks like they're standing on the same plane. So I'm going to grab these two, duplicate them and move them a little forward. And the further inspection, they do appear to be, it's not a platform, it's look like a seating, more like a, how you say it, like the step seating or stadium seating. So that's something I appear to have gotten wrong. In order to simulate that a bit, I'm going to take this edge, this entire edge, and lift it up like this. And then that way I can make sure that we have some type of tearing, like the people all the way in the back, are going to be a lot higher. So I'll select all of them and move them higher. And this guy is a lot lower. And then I probably want another tier. Duplicate it, take it to the back, make sure they're higher too. Yeah, that makes more sense. And I wonder if this is dense enough. I think it's dense enough for what I'm doing here. I did not adhere to the plan for the guys on the floor. It's supposed to be 2 rows of folks that are either kneeling or sitting. I might want to get a few of these guys who are sitting with their feet crossed. Like that. Okay. Like that. And duplicate one more time. That should do it. I think this is more than enough. All these crowd for the final scene, they are going to form this background. So I really need to be careful with detail contrast to make sure they are not distracting. But if we were by the dancer and we were looking at them, yeah, I think that's enough. I think I got enough. So it's just a proxy crowd. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is group all of them and move this up and try to get all these guys. Okay, that's definitely all of them. Group them and figure out what a good rotation amount is to get them scattered across. So if I were to duplicate the entire group and move like this, so that's as close as I want to be, and some of these are overlapping each other, so I have to make sure I delete the ones that are overlapping. Looks a little weird. There's another one there. Okay, I think I could do it manually, so I'm just going to grab the second one, second group, duplicate it, move it around. Overlapping really doesn't matter, but yeah, it's just a proxy scene. It really doesn't matter. I'm gonna grab 2 this time, duplicate, and rotate. Yeah, I did something irresponsible. That's a lot of spheres. I might have to delete them, or I'll have a solution. Okay. I'm going to select the spheres, all the spheres in the scene. So it's P, I'm going to type P sphere star, hit enter. Okay, and that selects all the spheres. I want to make sure it hasn't selected anything else in the scene. So now that I have all of them, I'm going to go to modeling and go mesh, reduce, and tell it to reduce their heads by maybe 70%. Hit apply. It's taking a while to run, all of them. That's a lot of heads. Okay, that looks good. That's a lot less geometry. I'll take it. I really should have used cubes, but oh well. And then I have just a little bit more to go. So I need about 3 tiers, so I'm going to grab these 3 tiers, duplicate them, and that should be our final section. Yes, that's our final section. Okay. So this is the proxy scene. Let me get to the center. I think those banners might have to come up, but I think this is our proxy scene. I think it's good. So from the dancer's perspective, we have this, we have the banners, we have everybody in the background. Yeah, I think that should be it. If I'm unable to shroud, let these go into the darkness properly, then I'm gonna have to create a ceiling and attach and create things to attach them to it. But I don't want to do that because I want to count on an HDRI for lighting too. I might try that, but I think that's what I'm going with, an HDRI for illumination. So I want to leave the top open so I get some lighting information from an HDRI. But anyway, that's it for the proxy scene development. So now we have a proxy scene, a proxy character, a mannequin character that we can block out, and then I have a camera rig that I can duplicate to create all my cameras. Let me get these guys into, so this is the screen left banner, left hanging banners, screen right hanging banners. This is your crowd. Here's, and this is your scene. Okay. Get all of this. This one. Group it. This is the scene. Okay. So that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, I will start blocking out some rough poses for the mannequin from the reference footage so that I can draft my camera animation for the first part of the sequence. As soon as the first part is done, I'll go directly into Adobe Animate and start the pencil test for it. This is a very long sequence, so I'm going to do my pencil tests in sections. The first section will be Avemoves and Kidathegreat. The second will be Tsehpo's performance. The third will be Girin and the first half of Soulaykami's performance. The fourth will be the second part of Soulaykami's performance and Latrice. And the final section will be Jeneeva and Amadi's performance.